Aloha and welcome to the KupunaWiki radio show. This month we are talking about active aging, and in studio we have with us Dr. Wong, gerontologist, and we'll be talking about you're retired, so what's next? KupunaWiki is Hawaii's senior resource. We talk to the best local professionals in the state regarding topics such as real estate, senior housing, estate planning, finance, and health, so that our Kupuna families can find the best resources in the midst of a life transition. We strive to make sure our seniors are informed and supported every step of the way. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Brandon Lau.
And I'm Andrew Leon,
your host for the KupunaWiki radio show.
Our title sponsor for today is Cheney Brooks Choice Advisors, providing the best real estate information so you can make the most informed decisions. As they like to say, real estate is about choice. To contact them, call 808-753-9033.
And now we have our real estate tip of the week brought to you by Cheney Brooks Choice Advisors.
Have you ever noticed that the price per square foot for a single-family house is higher than that for a two-story house with the same size living space? Well, demand is certainly one of the factors, since a single-level home is especially popular with the senior community. Other factors which drive the higher square foot unit price for the single-story and ranch-style homes include the cost of land, as well as the cost of building the foundation and roof for the larger footprint, compared to gaining additional living spaces by building upward.
Interesting. Well, for more information on styles of homes or how to find single-family housing, please contact Cheney Brooks Choice Advisors at 753-9033. Again, today in studio we have Dr. Wong, retired geriatrician and founder of Memories Connect, as well as a founder of Change Agents. Welcome, Dr. Wong. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks so much for having me, Brandon and Andrew.
Well, we enjoy having you on the show. You're just a wealth of knowledge and experience for us to share with our listeners. But for those who haven't heard from you before, maybe you can share a little bit of your background, where you're raised, and how you got involved in your field of work.
Well, I've been living in Hawaii about half my life now, and you can do a little bit of math. But I first came to Hawaii when I moved to Maui and worked with Kaiser. It was a great experience for me, totally different from being a city boy born and raised in San Francisco. And then I was one of the first doctors to do part of the University of Hawaii fellowship program. And then I developed the geriatrics program at Kaiser. And then I retired, and now here I am.
Back again. Stronger than ever. How was your experience developing that geriatrics program at Kaiser? That must have been, it's putting together the framework. How was that?
Yeah, the timing was very good. Geriatrics was very young back then. Nobody knew what geriatrics was at all. And, it was both great to be in at the very beginning and very hard.
What was difficult?
Getting people to even understand what geriatrics was about. I started off by just doing the things that was really important to do with older patients that wasn't being done, and that the other doctors really didn't have the expertise to do. But now geriatrics is pretty well developed in Hawaii. We have great programs at Queens, great program at Straub, and great program at Kaiser.
For somebody who has a general physician but doesn't have a geriatrician, what do you think you could say to that person to convince them that, hey, maybe you should see a geriatrician?
Well, actually, so I think the big thing to think about a geriatrician is what geriatricians really specialize is in people who are pretty frail. So those are the people who are having a harder and harder time getting around. So that might not be you, even if you're 80 years old and you're out playing tennis. You probably don't need a geriatrician. It's also for people who are starting to develop some dementia. The way a geriatrics doctor sees dementia is a little bit different from the way a neurologist or psychiatrist, who wouldn't just think about the medicines, but we also think about the what's next questions. Can you live alone? And what's the things to plan about living ahead, and what kind of support you need. That's where geriatricians really stand out.
So you're not basically just prescribing medications. You're actually thinking of the whole patient, from what they're doing, how they're going to live, who's going to help them, and I guess, are you helping to put them in contact with these different resources.
And we don't think of older people just as diseases. We
Right.
they have diseases, but we also think about how they're doing in terms of overall well-being. How well they're doing, able to be independent, what
Right.
their social circles are, and how do you fit that all together so that it's not just about giving pills for diseases, but how do you make sure that as you're getting frail, that the quality of your life is as great as possible.
Exactly. I think flipping that coin, and if you could say half glass full, is not preventing somebody from getting sick, but helping them to live better,
Yeah.
right? A more fuller life.
Yeah, and people do frequently get more frail as they get older, but you look through life at a different lens at that point,
Right.
and
Right.
sometimes it's a very rich part of life. So.
Right. Well, all that experience culminated in you continuing to give back in different ways to the senior community. Um, I want to talk a little bit about your involvement with change agents. I've attended that meeting a few occasions, and it's wonderful to see such a rich deposit of people who have so much to share and give back to the community. It's pretty amazing. But maybe you can give us an insight of how that started and what your plan and purpose is.
Yeah, so there's a big concept out these days that's called the third age. And it used to be that there were a total of 3 ages. Now there's a total of 4 ages.
Oh.
The 3 ages used to be, well, you're a kid, you're an adult, and then you're old. And correlated with that is you go to school, you work, and then you're out to pasture.
Okay.
But it's way different from that nowadays. There's a lot of people, me included, who says, "Yeah, I'm over 60, but I'm not old."
Right.
And I actually would even hesitate to you call me uncle or Kupuna or whatever. I said, I don't know if that's me.
Kupuna is a term of respect. Put it that way. It's an endearing term.
Yeah, I know it is. But people kind of cringe at this thing. I'm not sick yet. I'm not, I'm not ready for the nursing home yet.
Right.
And even this concept of silver tsunami that like we're getting old and we're going to be a problem. I think a lot of us don't relate to that. And there's it's true. It's the old saying about 70 is the new 60. That
Right.
There's a lot of truth to that. Is people are just doing a lot better, and after people retire, there's probably good 20 years of
Right.
lot that we can offer to society, and it's just never really been well planned for.
It's funny you said 20 years because I'm 40 this year, and I literally wrote down what I'm going to do for the next 40 years of my life. I'm a planner, right? So it's refreshing to hear that I don't just have 20, but I have 40 years to plan for, and that's right in line with my thinking. There's so much more you can contribute beyond just your job. Right?
Yeah, and it's great you think ahead like that. A lot of people don't.
Yeah.
I remember when I retired from Kaiser, and I was just kind of talking casually with the person who's in charge of the retirement plan. Says, "Yeah, half the doctors that leave here have no clue what they're going to be doing next." And it's extremely common. I was talking, it takes about a year to figure out, well, what's next, and
Right.
we don't really get much training in that. I mean, we talk about, oh yeah, here's your retirement plan. Do you want to do A, B, or C? But there's not much planning in terms of saying, well, after your retirement party, what happens after
Right.
that? And you're kind of left scratching your head. Some people know, but there's a lot of people out there who really don't know because they've been wearing one identity for such a long time that to all of a sudden lose that identity, it's
It's a little scary.
It's definitely scary.
Yeah. So the title of our show was "You're Retired, What's Next?" So let's say somebody comes to you and says, "Dr. Wong, I'm retired. What do I do?" So from your perspective, how would you choose to answer that person?
Well, let me just tell you my own story
Okay.
because I was one of those that said, yeah, I don't have any great hobbies, and I'm not going to go golfing every single day. And this concept of I'm going to go on vacation for the rest of my life there's very little data that's very satisfying. I
Right.
mean, it's great to go and to have the flexibility to
Right.
not have to be at work first thing every morning. But on the flip side, there's you got to be doing something. So
Mhm.
I was actually kind of lost myself for a while, and it was it was kind of a scary time for me too. So I
Mhm.
actually reached out. I actually saw a counselor for a while,
Right.
and then I ended up actually going back to work, which is kind of, well, geez, I'm a little lost, and maybe we'll go back to work.
That's not unusual,
It's,
and again, because you have so much experience, I'm sure they were glad to have you. Even just in a consultative role.
yeah, I mean, it was fantastic. I mean, all of a sudden I felt important again, and it was it wasn't full time anymore.
Right.
So, but I mean, after a while, I thought about that too, and then of all people, my daughter was talking to me and says, "Dad, why don't you do some of the things you always talk about and just take a first step?" And so I did something that I'm not saying that anybody that's listening should do, but I've been thinking a lot about developing an app, and I said,
Yeah.
"Well, I'm going to take a course in web design."
Right.
And it was just a one-day thing, and one thing led to another, and after a while, I started my own little
That's
company.
amazing.
And
Well, Dr. Wong, I definitely want to talk about that because I think that's segueing into Memeracy.
Yeah.
So let's talk more about that and change engines, but right after this commercial break.
Welcome back. If you just joined us, we have Dr. Warren Wong, retired geriatrician and founder of Memories Connect. And in the first segment, we kind of got a little background of your life, and you mentioned retiring and going back to work, and then also learning to develop an app, which we will touch upon in a little bit. But I want to jump back to the first part where you mentioned that the third age. I want to kind of go into a little. If you could go into the details about what what are some of the people ask, well, is it a good thing? You mentioned not just retiring, but sometimes it's confusing of what you wanted to do. A lot of people, kind of feel isolated, right, after they retire because they're not in that constant contact with their coworkers and things like that. How does one welcome that next age? Yeah.
yeah, I think it's an interesting age because we get so much preparation. We for work and for school, we get a lot of preparation. We don't get a lot of preparation for retirement. And I've actually heard a lot of different stories. One of the roles I had was being the director of what's called the Medicare Wellness Program, and I heard a lot of different stories. One of the stories I heard was that I talked with a person who was a retired principal, and after retiring from a very successful career, he never really was able to figure it out after that. And I could actually tell he actually, when you get beyond 1 year of uncertainty, it just kind of just got further and further into this kind of I really don't know what I'm doing anymore, and became more and more isolated.
Like a limbo, right?
Yeah, and it doesn't. I could tell it didn't feel good to him at all. On the flip side, I met this one woman who worked as a nurse's aide at a place called Halemakua in Maui, and she had just, I mean, totally thrived. It was a great time in her life. She became very active in community events, became a leader, was going to national conferences, and things like that. So I think that time in life is a time of a lot of uncertainty. I noticed that a lot of men have difficulty with that time in life because they're so strongly identified with their job roles. And I think that anybody who's listening who's kind of in that position, there's a lot of time ahead of you, and uh, you better start thinking about, well, what am I going to do, and if things look a little puzzling to you, just take the first step and try and figure it out.
So let's jump into your life. You mentioned that you went back to work, and then your daughter said, "Hey, why don't you do something that you've been wanting to do?" And then, so the thought of creating that app came to mind.
Yeah, I'd been thinking about developing an app for a long time, and um, it was really the thing about taking that first step, and that's the message I really want to get out there, is that there's a lot of opportunities and things to look forward to, but you have to take that first step. It's not going to happen if you just sit inside your house. You have to get outside the door, and you have to go into unfamiliar circumstances and just do something different. And so I took this first class, and then I started asking questions. There was another time that after I had developed my app, there was a conference on technology that I said, I don't have to go here. Should I go or not? And I said, well, what the heck, I'm going to go. And then, as it turned out, somebody talked with me about my app and then said, you have a lot of skills, and they're looking for a medical director at a technology firm. And so I ended up with another role that I've actually found very exciting and enjoyable. And I'm actually at this stage in life that I heard a new word. It's called plurk. It's a contraction of the word play and work. So it's kind of work that's kind of play. You make some money doing it, but it's something that is really fun for you, and you really enjoy it. And it does take a little bit of searching to find that. So I'm just really fortunate that way.
I think what's interesting is you actually, through your period of searching, eventually found a role that was clerk, right? And if you didn't do that, you'd never find the right role, right? And that's the thing. It doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen by itself.
Yeah, you can't just stay at home and say, "Oh, I feel a little bit lonely." It's
right.
It's not going to change itself by just sitting at home. So.
Right. And perhaps some people may not be as lucky as you, and they may search for a longer period of time. But it's a lot better doing that than staying at home. Right?
Yeah, I mean, if you have 20 years ahead, you may as well try different things, and some things are not going to work. And it's all part of the life story. And then eventually, you're going to find your way. Right. But if you don't look at all, you're not going to find your way.
Right. So with in developing of the app, I'm sure it made you really understand it and go. You had to do a lot of planning to decide what to put in this app. So let's talk about it. Well, is it available? Where is it available?
Well, the app is called Memorcy, MEMORC. It's available only in the Apple Store in the App Store.
Okay.
And it's designed to basically it's something I'm very passionate about, and it's basically to create a tool that creates joy in life, in the lives of people with dementia, and also in the lives of people who are taking care of people with dementia. Just make it joyful, not make it because everybody thinks, well, my mother has Alzheimer's disease, my mother has dementia, her life is not good anymore. That's not true. People can still have a lot of fun, so we have fun activities. We have we have videos, and we talk. We're creating videos in which you say, "This is bad hair day," and we talk about how to do the hair, and we're creating stories that are funny and joyful. In the next week, we're going to do a story about Santa in Hawaii. So there's a SantaCon coming up where 300 people dress up as Santa in Waikiki. We're gonna film that.
Whoa, well, that's interesting.
Is this part of your app?
Well, yeah, it is part of the app because
really?
it's kind of saying, even people with dementia can still enjoy life and can still be a part of the holidays. Another part of the app so we've got three main features right now. We've got the videos, and then we have where you put in photos of loved ones, and it just kind of reminds you of the people who are important to you, just so that your memories last a little bit longer. And then the third feature is the two-way messaging, so that if you have a grandson who's far away, they can send a picture via the app to your grandmother, and then grandmother can send a picture to the son or daughter who may live far away, and says, my life is fine. I'm having a good time. I'm doing well,
Right.
despite the fact that I do have some dementia. So.
Right, that's great. I'm glad how you use technology to enhance the human experience,
Yeah.
versus the other way around and isolate somebody by getting too involved in technology.
Yeah, it's really been interesting. I mean, I'm totally learning a lot of new things that were different from what I was doing as a doctor before. And I very strongly believe that technology has a lot to offer people as they get older. Can you imagine one of these days that if you have some degree of dementia, that you'll have something that easily says this is the right way to walk home, or this is what you wanted to get at the store, or that person that's walking towards you right now, if you forgot his name's Brandon.
That's right.
So,
It'll pop up on the screen.
or some, those kinds of features are already available now. It's just that they've not been adapted to people who are cognitively impaired.
Right, and it has to be simplified.
Yeah, very simple.
I like how you put everything into one app, because you could do those functions, but you take 3 apps, right?
That's right. Yeah.
So this is an all-in-one.
Right.
I can start talking fast because then I get excited about
Yeah.
these kinds of things. So right now we have a very basic product, but it's something that it still gives me a lot of sense of purpose, which I think is really important for people, right? To have a sense of purpose.
That's great. Well, I did, Dr. I want to circle back to the group called Change Agents.
Mm-hmm.
I know we mentioned it early on, but tell us, what is it that we're doing right now, and can people get involved with it?
Yeah, so Change Agents right now is meeting every other month, and it focuses mostly on people who are in that group of what we call the third age, this 60 to 80, and it's a lot about empowerment and being active. We've given talks on the do's and don'ts of age 60 to 70. We're in the planning phase for doing meetups with people who are in the 6th and 7th grade, just to do intergenerational speed dating in terms of what we're talking about, getting to know each other better. And we're working very much on developing a concept in which we can continue to work throughout our lives.
Right.
So right now there's no central information source that talks about where you might have a specific type of work available on any given day if you have availability. So